Hi, I'm Sue Rankin. I want to introduce you to some of my work and my studio practices. I'm a glass artist. I've been blowing glass for 30 years, and I do a lot of work with outdoor sculpture, like the pieces in the back. My garden has been a huge source of inspiration to me, so let's start by doing a tour of the garden, and then we'll head down to the shop. The light is really great in the garden, so I'm just going to do a quick scan. This is a grove of 5 columns, these wonderful garden stakes. I have about a half an acre of perennial gardens. I've got 2 water features. This is a wonderful, very old, but wonderful red and white lensed piece. There's my wonderful dog. I've got many different groupings of columns, many different bases, and they withstand all the seasons. They're wonderful in the winter and in the summer and in the rain. This is the path down to the studio. So let's go see what we have down there. There's Verve, loving the sun. The shop is, as you can tell, just down the hill from the house. That's the cold shop door, and we're gonna walk into the hot shop. We just have our glass furnace up and running. You can hear that sound, that lovely roar of the flames. And come on in. I share the studio with my studio partner, Brad Copping. We've got a glory hole, the glass furnace where we melt 200 pounds of glass. We've got, of course, the kilns, the kiln room. Here we are. We've got 2 annealers, which we use to cool the glass to room temperature. We've got all kinds of torches, our tools, and our workbench. These are some of my color threads that I pull from the color bar. There is a bar in the studio. We refer to it as the color bar, because this is where we store all of our inventory for glass. And then the filing cabinets here, also full of glass powders, which I use a lot of glass powders, which I'll sort of get into along the way here. Head into the cold shop. So cold shop is just up a few steps here. So this is my very messy corner of the studio with some of my pieces on the shelf. Again, the garden is a major source of inspiration for the florals. This is the workbench. I'm going to talk about 3 different series that I'm working on currently. This piece is in progress. It's a wall piece. It's steel. It will have glass components. It's a bird of paradise piece. This is an orchid piece that I'll show you some pictures of these pieces that are closer to completion. These ones are in progress here. All kinds of different workstations here, belt sanders, sandblasters. This is our saw room, and we've got this wonderful glass lathe in here which we can grind and cut. It's got the saw blade mounted on it currently. Kind of a messy wet room, but good ventilation as is necessary. Where we've got the grinding wheel over here, and then I also have this little flame working studio that I work in the winter time. This is where all of the small floral components are constructed for the wire and steel pieces. Okay, florals. Probably one of the series that I'm most well known for are my floral series. I've been doing them for about 26 years. As I was building my garden as a gardener, the flowers were just like this huge source of inspiration for me. Subject matter is flowers, glass flowers, the Venetian glass flowers, and adorning surfaces with decorative elements. Something that happens quite a bit in the historic glass. It's fun. It's just so much fun. It's how can you over decorate? You know, it's like the flowers, the color, the gesture of them growing. I don't really try to imitate nature, but I try to come up with like flowers and give the sense of life and blossoming and beauty. These are very large pieces. This back one, these pieces were done in a team aspect. Generally I work with one assistant on this scale. This scale was a little bit bigger. I had to go up to 3 other assistants for this, but on this size and this size of a piece, I work with one assistant. And I've been working with Susie Lewis for 11 years. And we have sort of developed getting these pieces made and off the pipe because they're made all at once. So first I will make the flowers. I will keep the flowers hot in a kiln. Then I'll make the vessel, and then each flower is welded on with an oxy propane little hand torch so that the piece is complete on the pipe, and then we have to get it off the pipe. This is a real recent series, a much simpler form. Just I call them sprigs. It's just like, you know, your first sprig out of the garden. Slightly more contemporary. This kind of form is very historic, so working again with very historic form, very traditional. Tried to sort of modernize it a little bit, coming off of more of a cylindrical, and then just going a little freer and working with the sprigs. My favorite term in my garden is called controlled neglect. So I like it when it overgrows and there's like the flowers sort themselves out. It's kind of like trees always give themselves space to grow. They don't push each other around too much. They try to help each other out. So I love that aspect of the garden, of the abundance, the beauty, you know, they all take turns in their blooming, something like that. So I tend my gardens in the summertime, and I tend my flower gardens in the wintertime when the hot shop is running and we're in the glass studio. So I kind of work through a number of different series. Will be just flowers I'm working on. Currently I'm working on the wire pieces with flame worked elements. A constant right now are the garden columns, the garden groves, and they actually came out of my, it was a gift back to my garden for being my source of inspiration on these floral pieces for a number of years. I like plants that are very tall, and so I came up with these columns as my gift to adorn the garden when it was winter, and then it turned into this whole new thing. They've taken off. I've done public art installations. I've done lots of commission work for people's backyards, for corporations. It's keeping me busy, and they're very much fun. I love the quality of color, the light play. It sort of encompasses everything about my garden and my glass practice. So I'm now into the wiring process of that Bird of Paradise piece. And I just use steel wire. The reason I use a very fine steel wire to do my wiring is it's really the shadow that's cast from the wire. It acts like a drawing of the piece on the wall once it's lit. And to me, there's just something about steel and glass that I love. Like, glass has that transparent quality of holding light, and steel you think of as something that's very strong and sturdy and thick and dense. And I like the juxtaposition of using the steel and the wire to create shadow to give you light. The glass is opaque and is added to, so when the light shines on these wired wall pieces, the steel looks transparent and light, and the glass elements look dense. And then the shadow that's cast, these are very, very dense and dark, large dark shadows that really move with the light. Seeing the piece in front of you with the color and the translucency of the steel shaft in combination with that drawing is what I am trying to create. These elements have been flame worked, and they have wires attached so that they are integrated into this piece. This piece could hang on a wall, or it could be on the stand. Wall brooches, I call them. It's a play on words, and it's a play on ideas, because flowers have been part of jewelry for a very, very, very long time. They're sort of valid objects of beauty, and there is a time quality to the way the shadows are cast from these pieces. So if sun is streaming through your window, then you get one kind of a shadow, and then when you turn your interior light on at night, you get another kind of shadow. So there is kind of like this movement of time. The other series that I also want to talk about are the Shard series. So you'll see I have some video clips of us working on these. They're flattened forms, they're oval. They're made up of several layers of very fine shards of color, many, many layers. It's kind of hard to see in this setting what these look like, but you can sort of see in the accompanying images how dense and complex the surfaces are. Because it's many, many layers, and those fine threads that I showed you, I draw on the surface, and there's some video clips of me actually doing the drawing, and then the pieces are blown and flattened, and you can sort of see it just kind of is like magic. I draw all of the lines on when it's really small, over, like, I would say at least 6 or 7 different layers, overlapping, 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 overlapping. And then it's not until I actually blow it up that all those layers come to life, and it becomes magic. And when glass is hot, it's just, it doesn't show the color at all. So I pre-choose my colors from the materials that I have available to myself, and then I just start working. As I pick up shards, it influences where I'm going to draw the circles, and then in that blowing process all is revealed. And then when I flatten them to the oval form, then it becomes the canvas. I do them in a lot of different sizes. They group really beautifully together, and it's a total pleasure. But again, it's my garden. It's the depth of the garden. It's the depth of field, and you really get drawn into the surfaces of these blown pieces. That, I think, is kind of the reoccurring theme through a lot of my work is time. It's the memory, it's the shadow, it's the movement, and that's really what I'm trying to capture in a lot of these pieces. So there you have it. Enjoy. It's been nice meeting you online, and I hope you have an opportunity to see my work at some point in time. Thanks.